Nothing arouse you. We started this as naked children. Now we're returning again. The fun hairs on your neck, standing on the rest. Your lips tremble.
Right, yes, hello, welcome to Depression Era from Toronto. First time I've talked to someone on the show from Toronto. First time talked to someone from Toronto, I think. Anyway, so welcome, Arthur and Hercules, or do you want to be Andrew? I don't know. It says Andrew Hercules, and
yeah, those.
I mean, it's very
my
confusing.
name.
One Arthur first name and one Hercules second name. Make up your minds.
I've referred to you, Hercules, as other things. We shan't share those ones there.
But, that's not suitable for viewing material.
That's for off-camera stuff. So we won't go into it. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Let's find out a little bit about Depression Era then. So what's it all about? Because
sure. I guess Arthur and I met up, must have been 8 or 9 years ago, or almost now. I think we're working on our third record, but it was basically we just wanted to make some intelligent, emotional electronic music. It's we didn't have a formula or anything when we started, but we've sort of evolved into kind of, people call it some neo-romantic new wave stuff.
Well, that's good. I mean, the thing is, you've got insurrection and neo-futurism coming along, so I think we must be an excellent mix. If we've both got neo in our styles, then
right. I'm not sure what the labels really mean, but they people always want to know. So
I mean, I made mine up, so it's okay.
Oh
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But, well, sorry to cut you off, Hercules, but yeah, I mean,
but you're more important.
Well, yeah. To piggyback on what Hercules said, thanks, Derek, for having us on. We're absolutely delighted that we're going to be working together a little bit later in Toronto. But yeah, we answer to all those labels. We'll bend to our aim is to be like water. We'll bend to all of those. We played with hip hop bands, punk bands, thrashers, metal, sweet, softer bills. So we're very comfortable playing in all kind of sort of genres. But I think, our kind of sweet spot is just we do sweet electronic love songs essentially, and they sometimes veer towards the dark and the weird. But I think that keeps it all interesting for us and hopefully for people who come to see us.
So speaking of going to see you, what can people expect from a Depression Era live show then?
Yeah, I felt we have talked the most about, we don't talk about much other than making the music, but we made a very conscious decision, as two guys to when we make music in the studio and is obviously very electronic, and it can be sounding machine made in a way, but I think it was an intent to inject humanity into these electronic love songs. And I think the stage experience and our live experience is really what completes the circle, in that you don't see much gear in our setup, and our intention is for the audience to focus on two guys belting out electronic love songs in real time. And don't notice the setup.
The machines are the method rather than the be all and end all. They're the way it's conveyed. So how did you end up being? Was it always a very conscious decision to be an electronic band, or did that just sort of fall into place? And if it was a conscious decision, why did you choose electronic?
Well, I have a history of some other musical projects, and especially in like hard rock and stuff like that, and hardcore. But so I've come from a history of doing 5 people on a big show, big tour bus, big gear, and as a songwriter, there was part of part of me that did want to experiment with stripping things down. I mean, like how can just the essentials, basically, like what is the heart and soul of a song, and what's the simplest way to do that, convey that, and with all the technology that that we have in music, with all the software and tricks and toys that are available out there, like the electronic, there's no real limits with what you can do with electronic music these days. And so a lot of it have to do with just experimenting with that, and just an exercise in songwriting, where typically I used to always write songs on a guitar first. Now we write beats first, or and we come at songs all different ways. So I don't know, it's about pushing the musical experience in a new direction for me in some ways. And but I think Arthur probably has a slightly different answer for that as well.
Different, but I think complementary, is that, yeah, my background is I do like electronics and sampling and harnessing the power of software, the limitless kind of a machine that is at our disposal, and we're in the golden era, have been. But that presented its own challenge in that we decided we need constraints, and so that's why we put away the laptop. We don't want you to see the machines. We keep it very simple so that the focus, again, all our gear is just on one plank. There's not racks and racks of stuff on the stage whatsoever. So very minimal. That was in keeping, and we decided on that direction very early on. And what Hercules said about when we write songs, we give each other little challenges. We'll start with the beat, or maybe there's a thread of a chord progression, or maybe there's just a melody or a sample that's been processed by software that could kick something off, and we try to write to that. But most interestingly, again, with this theme of like, what do you do with the seemingly limitless options, is that we find our songs get the strongest after we've just brain dumped and added umpteen tracks and tracks and tracks, and then we start editing, subtracting all the shit, like all the stuff that doesn't need to be there. Then it gets stronger.
Underneath your bed, there's a charlatan whose only aim is to keep you safe from undue harm. The wolves at bay cause no alarm. Why would I lie so close, only to whisper nothing's a sweet white noise? Rocked by love. Is this something typical? Rocked by love. Sinking deeper, deeper still.
Is the one of you that normally sort of mainly comes up music wise, or do you just tend to both come up with ideas and it just gets thrown between you all the time?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, I think every song has its own story. So I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but they really start from all angles. Like, I've definitely had ideas that are near complete. Like, okay, like here's chord progression, I got some lyrics, but then we've definitely had just little noises that even the course of one day will just jam out. Oh, here, try this. Okay, yeah. Oh, boom. How about that? Okay, wait. Why don't you do that again? Okay, and now all of a sudden we have a tune. It's not. There's no formula that I'm aware of. If there is, someone please tell us the formula.
Yeah, no, we've tried every, tons of permutations. I think there's a couple of specific examples. There's a song called "Goodnight, Sweet Charlatan," where I think it would just start off as a loop, and it was just hitting a setting and a latch on the keyboard, and it just kind of like chugged, and we got this kind of loop. We played with it, and we built up this entire song really quickly, and we realized what was interesting is that there was no kick drum. anywhere. It was just
Yeah.
like this mad jump. Was like we wrote an entire song off this thing, and it didn't have a very strong downbeat or a noticeable, backbeat. And other times, I think when we have a kind of a sweeter ballad called "Nothing at All," and I remember that coming together very early on, Hercules. But I think you had some disparate pre-written guitar parts actually. So we
Yeah, I
sampled.
had a riff. I had a riff for that one. So yeah, that's true. But I don't even remember how that came about, to be honest. But I did have a riff. We ended up basing that, like the verse on that. But yeah.
Yeah, that came like from the pre-written stuff, bringing in shards. And like I think I highlighted that just to say that, when we get into a writing session, we're pulling from the ether, like stuff that might have been floating around before, or we do jam on live in the moment. And I think, I mean, you can tell us that's what part of trying to find the magic is.
So you've got a new release due soon. You may have it out in time for the show we're doing together. So tell us about what's to come for Depression Era.
Yeah, well, we got the bulk of this record, which I guess would be volume 2, done during the COVID times. And there was obviously a kind of drop in momentum as far as what was going on with us musically and being active like that. So we ended up kind of taking our time with it, and now we have a few other projects that we really wanted to line up with part of the release. But the material's done. They're great songs. It's more of us, slightly more polished, slightly more dance, slightly more involved. We're really happy with the work. Yeah, and we'll definitely be showcasing all those songs at this show, at this upcoming show. So that'll be cool.
I mean, we feel like we've been sitting on these songs forever. Like our sense of time is
Yeah.
warped, but it's fresh, and we engage. A buddy of ours, Greg Dawson, who, brought in to mix it and master it, and it just to give it some beef that we haven't explored before. So I think there's a nice intensity to the quality of the recordings this time around. And Hercules and I have certainly we just realized that, we actually have another batch of tunes that are just kind of ready to go that we need to flesh out. So we're already on to the next, planning out the next release as well as soon as we get this one out. That's because there's a lot of time actually has passed when we were allowed to percolate on our ideas, given obviously some world events.
Something in the air here, running transparent, it's out of ether. It's too much and I feel it. Chain is broken. Comes in waves, lots of nauseous feeling, a phenomenon. Science fiction.
It's been memorable shows for you in both ways, like ones that you really wish you could forget, and ones which were so incredibly memorable for the wonderfulness of it.
Yeah, there's definitely some of those. I mean, we've had some great shows. It's unfortunate that the bad shows are always the funnier, seem like the more memorable shows. We've had some great shows at some really good venues. God is an Astronaut was a great show for us.
From Ireland. Yeah. when they came and played, we opened for them a really wonderful, beautiful venue called the Opera House in Toronto. And that was just a magical night. And everybody was vibing, not only to us, but like obviously for God is an astronaut. So that was a top highlight for us. Any other top ones, Hercules?
Well, I know, but I like I said, the bad ones usually seem to be more predominant of a memory. And I remember a show slightly east of the city here where we had an incident with a patron, beating up our sound guy mid set, and that's never
That was
something you want to
horrifying.
see.
Yeah.
That really does sound like an absolute
We
nightmare.
looked up, and the city shall remain nameless. But
What
we
kind
found
of
out
place am I going to here?
yeah. Well, this is east of where you're playing, so you won't be playing in that town. But it was very horrifying when we realized that the environment is not safe. And the moment we figured that out, I think both of us had looked up. I certainly looked up at my rig, and I could see I had a direct sight line to our sound guy at the back. And I just saw a patron just wailing on him, fist after fist after fist. And I was like, and I told Hercule, whoa. And of course, the instinct. We found out later it's just, this guy just wanted to brawl, and he picked on a sound guy. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's nonsense. But anyways, in situations like that, it was very clear to us, like, cut immediately, stop everything, address the situation, and thank goodness no further injuries were sustained. The singer was okay. A little bit more shocked than seriously injured. Thank goodness. It could have gotten so much worse. And I think just our aim is to create a vibe in a space, right? That's a big part of our show. Is we really want to maintain this experience, and certainly the element of safety is paramount to that. And when something like that happens, that really rocked us, and it unfortunately left a little stain in our memory. And hopefully we can experience that town again without that.
Yeah, hopefully that's just a one-off.
But can I'm always the optimist. Another top of ours is getting to play a show with Lol Tolhurst, co-founder of The Cure, when he was doing his book tour, and we opened for him, and we were asked to prepare a cover. And so we played a Cure song for Lol, and he heard it. And it doesn't matter what he thinks of it.
It's just the fact that he's heard it.
To do that. And I was like, that's cool. And he's a sweetheart. So that's another highlight.
I was just listening to his podcast with Budgie earlier today. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Do you know of his Curious Creatures podcast? It's very, very interesting.
We're going to check that out.
Do check that out. You hear a lot.
Yeah, the Budgie episode. Okay, I'm gonna start there. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, Lol Tolhurst and Budgie, Curious Creatures. They're working together on some music,
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Very cool. Anyway, so I don't think I need to keep you any longer, but I'm certainly very much looking out of all the acts that Ryan sent my way. Definitely you and Spectralize were the ones which were absolute standouts of the entire bunch. So very, very excited to see what you've got to offer, and I still can't quite believe my madness in flying over to another country when I can barely attract people here. But hey, I'm relying on your thousands of fans that you will bring, obviously.
And definitely you're on a kind of a mystical night. Devil's Night.
Devil's Night, indeed. Halloween ain't well mañana.
And shout out to Ryan Batty for making that nice little intro between us, and he gave us our lift, with our first record all the way with Volume 1. So he's there it is, Electric Bat Records. Yeah. R.I.P.
DJ Vacky Von Vats. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So he started that, and we were the first release on that label. So R.I.P. Electric
Absolute
Bat.
top guy, Ryan. so grateful for his assistance and patronage as well. Anyway, so thanks Arthur and Hercules. I shall get something done with this shortly, and all the best for the rest of your afternoon and evening, and I really look forward to our eventual meeting in October.
Can't wait, Derek. Thanks so much for having us.
So until then, bye everyone.
All right, take care.
Fragile, reflected in paints, such high class, encased in glass. Ground floor and the street down below, buttons light up at your mere touch, the consummate professional. It's business, but it's pleasure, though. I know it's nothing personal. You only give them what they got to have. I know it's nothing personal. We're all so excited to see how this turns out. When you go down, you're everything we only want. When you show and don't tell, it's only natural to look in and touch. When you show and don't tell, it's only natural. You're on your way to the top. Say it's business, but it's pleasure, though.